Yep.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for BAASS Virtual Connect. In this session, we want to talk about increasing your efficiency. So repetitive tasks can be time-consuming and error-prone when done manually, but you have options on how to automate processes and save some time and, more importantly, some money. In this session, we want to show you some software options that you can consider to help increase your productivity. For those of you that don't know us, my name is Nancy Lavery, and we'll also be hearing from Rob in a little bit as well. So there's a number of products that we want to talk about today, but businesses are always looking for ways to increase efficiency in order to cut costs without having to risk the integrity of their data. We all know how important data is these days. By increasing efficiency, businesses can thrive and grow without having to increase overhead. More importantly, employees can focus on strategies to increase profit, spend more time analyzing their data, and have an increased focus on improving and building lasting relationships with their clients rather than valuable time performing repetitive tasks. In this session, we want to focus on a few tools that will help you to increase your efficiency and give you the ability to spend your time improving your business. Tyrox productivity tools add hundreds of features to Sage 300. You can enter data once and copy that data across multiple companies. You can apply multiple payments to open invoices in one screen. You can bill hundreds of clients for the same thing with just the click of a button. You can view open batches across all modules in one screen to ensure that you have a smooth month-end close. You can ship multiple orders from one screen. You can view order margins. You can see your sales history by item or by customer. You can create new orders from old purchase orders or old orders in order entry. And that's just to name a few. Go to the Tyrox.com website where you can find a ton of information and a number of short videos that will outline all of the tools that are available within the productivity tools. How much time do you spend doing your bank reconciliation? With Rec Express for Bank Services, we can automate matching entries from your bank statement to the entries in Sage 300. Each time you do a reconciliation, you can create new rules to match entries, so the next time that type of entry appears on your bank statement, the software can handle it for you automatically, freeing up valuable time that can be spent on other things. You can also generate entries in Sage 300 right from your bank statement. How often are you performing your data integrity checks? Do you hesitate to do it because it takes too much time? What about dumping and loading your databases or clearing out your past history? We sometimes skip these important tasks because they just take too long. But your risk for not performing these tasks could be far greater and could end up costing far more time. What if I told you we had some tools that will perform these tasks in a fraction of the time than it takes with the standard Sage tools, perhaps even hundreds of times faster? FastDB tools will handle the dump and load operations. Fast Data Integrity will perform data integrity checks faster and can be run on multiple databases at the same time. And Fast Clear History allows you to choose which history to clear and when it does it faster. So I'll turn it over to Rob now, and he can talk to you about a few other products that can help you with increasing your efficiencies.
Thank you, Nancy. So in my part of the presentation, I want to cover a couple of solutions from Orchid Systems, Process Scheduler and Report Runner. What you'll see with Process Scheduler is a tool that allows you to automate a lot of the administrative tasks within Sage 300, such as running data integrity checks, day-end processing, posting of batches, and other processes that can consume resources on the network or take a lot of time to run during regular business hours. With Report Runner, we streamline not only the generation, but also the distribution of standard Crystal reports, custom Crystal reports, as well as your FR financial statement reports. So we're going to go over and take you through the applications themselves. So here we have Process Scheduler, and notice that it installs directly into the Sage 300 environment. With Process Scheduler, it's sold in 3 levels. You'll be able to see the functionality at each level based on the actions that are part of any particular schedule. Starting with level 1, we do a standard check integrity, which is the administrative services data integrity check. These are important to ensure that the data within your Sage 300 database has been reviewed for data integrity errors to make sure that you don't have any corrupt data that might impact the running of your reports. Likewise, dumping and loading of your database allows you to re-index the files and tables within Sage 300 to ensure that there's no missing indexes, so that any joins or connections of data fields are properly presented on your Crystal and FR financial statement reports. For BI purposes, there's an Info Explorer cube that can be refreshed, and then you can run a schedule within a schedule. So some clients will actually create a month-end schedule of procedures that they embed as part of a normal day-end process so that they can run their day-end processing, posting of batches, and then have some additional month-end procedures that they run as part of a separate schedule. And then you can also check the disk space on the server. Sometimes clients run into issues where their hard disks become full and the system is no longer able to process transactions efficiently. You can also send emails as an automated process or run extender scripts, which is part of the Orchid Extender customization tool where you can automate processes within Sage 300, integrate to external third-party databases, or run custom routines that allow you to embed those automatically as a scheduled process within Sage 300. When we move to level 2, this incorporates your IC or PO day end process. Depending on the size of your database, of course, this could take several hours for some organizations. So being able to offload this process to non-peak times on the network during regular business hours is a tremendous benefit for organizations. And if you run the day end process, then the system batches that are generated in AR, AP, and GL can be automatically posted for you. You can also set other batches not related to the day end process to be set as ready to post and posted through, or you can just post all batches that whether they've been set ready to post or not. And the system will actually go in and flip the switch to make them ready to post and then post them. We did have requests for some of the IC transactions and PJC transactions to be automated, and so we've included those as well as part of level 2. And when we move up to level 3, this is where we can load company databases, copy company databases, which is particularly useful for training or testing purposes, where you can copy your live system database and incorporate new modules or allow new people to the organization to run test transactions with live data from the live system, but it's a copy so that they're not impairing the integrity of your actual live system. And then incorporating different programs. AVB macros are falling out of favor because of security issues and security routines that Microsoft has added on the Microsoft Windows 10 server, and sometimes your Excel files fail. You also have issues when you upgrade Windows or Sage 300 where macros can break and they need to be rewritten. So generally speaking, most people don't run a lot of AVB macros anymore, but we've maintained that as a scheduled process within the system just in case. And then, of course, there's the consolidation module from Sage, where you need to export from subsidiary company general ledgers and import into the consolidated company GL, which again, depending on the number of companies you need to consolidate, could be a very time-consuming and laborious process. With Process Scheduler, we can schedule the export and import process and streamline that for you. And then we get to the combination of financial report groups along with the report information manager reports, which are we can set up within Report Runner. So before I go there, I just want to highlight one last feature, and that is the fiscal period calendar. We can open periods, we can open years, we can close the earliest open period and open the next closed period. So this ensures that as you're running month-end processes, you can also include the closing of older fiscal periods and opening of new fiscal periods to make sure that the fiscal calendar is always opened to the appropriate period within Sage 300, so you don't get those error messages that fiscal periods are not open when you start processing transactions in a new month or period. So now, what does it look like when we want to automate running of financial reports, or what we call information manager reports, which are actually crystal reports? Well, we've got a couple of options here where we've set up some sample schedules within Process Scheduler that can run financial reports, and that's a financial report group, or we could run them as crystal reports where we run crystal reports. Now notice that when you schedule, you can set up the schedules across multiple Sage 300 companies. So rather than running one schedule for one company, Process Scheduler is smart enough to be able to log in and log out of multiple companies if they're part of the same schedule. And that's become, as part of the setup, we have what's called the configuration company, where we configure all of the schedules, but then we point to all of the other companies that we're running on the same server, and we can schedule processes across all of those Sage 300 companies. The other thing that we can do is we can specify whether we send an email if there are errors, or always when we run these schedules. And as part of the scheduled processes, we can show the, just going to close the background window here. We can show whether it was successful or not. We log the date and the timestamp, and whether there were any errors as part of that scheduled process. So this is all part of what we can do within Process Scheduler. Now, we made reference to Report Runner, and that is what we see here. With Report Runner, what we're trying to accomplish is creating a custom menu of reports that could either be part of standard crystal reports or custom crystal reports that you've created. And the purpose here is to be able to go in, and rather than seeing all the parameters that you need to identify and populate, you could create a report that doesn't need any parameters entered, such as this EFT customer details report, and then go ahead and schedule it to run automatically on a particular day at a particular time, and then specify how often you want that report to run. Is it to be run daily, weekly, monthly, or a particular day of the week? And then based on that, if it's weekly, what week is it? Or if it's monthly, what month is it? And so by using this feature, you're able to automate the generation of these reports automatically in a format such as PDF or XLS that you determine. It's also possible to include these reports as part of an email. So you could either send them to a folder on the network and save as, browse to that folder, and create folders for the various employees that need to receive these reports, or you can send them as an email, and we include an email template that allows you to specify the nature of the reports that are being distributed via email, and then you will attach them to those emails. And if you have multiple people you want to send the reports to, you separate the multiple users with a semicolon. And as you create all of these scheduled processes, you can save them, and then the system is running and auditing when the reports were run or when the next scheduled report is to be run. And this keeps the system very efficient at maintaining proper levels of reporting activity so that people are only receiving the reports that they're supposed to receive with the formatting that makes sense for them based on the decision-making process that they have. Because each of these reports, when you schedule them, as we've seen in the previous screen, we have the option to choose the fields that we want to use as part of that scheduled process. Now, the same thing is true for financial reports. We can go in and specify departmentalized balance sheets and income statements, and we can edit these to determine how we want to hard code, in this case by segment code, the divisional financial statement reports. So it's possible to run a separate balance sheet and income statement by division, if that's one of your segments, or by region, again, depending on how you've structured your chart of accounts, and then run a consolidated report across all divisions. And you can save these runs. And when you, again, want to select, you can choose the format, printer, Excel, or text, and whether you're sending them as email attachments or not. So with Report Runner, you have the ability to ensure that information is being received by the right user in the right format at the right time with a combination of Report Runner, where you schedule the reports with the formats that you want and avoid having to recreate the parameters that you run. Because one of the last reports I want to highlight is the aged trial balance. When you want to run an aged trial balance report, you see the number of different parameters that are potentially going to be entered when you want to run this report. Things such as, is it detailed by document date or document number? What are the aging periods? And how am I selecting my vendors, by vendor number or vendor group? And then once I've chosen that, I've got other options such as account set, current vendor balance, date, due date, and so on. And then you have to choose, am I going to include phone information, credit limit information, other vendors with zero balances, what transaction types, or vendor currency if I'm running multi-currency. And this takes time. And there are some clients who are doing this on a weekly and sometimes a daily basis. And the operators are having to enter this information every time they come in to run the aged report. But when we introduce Report Runner into the system, instead of having to choose all those parameters, they simply go in and look at the vendor aging report, and they can just choose vendor group rather than all those other parameters. And if they want to print it manually, they can just go ahead and print it as an ad hoc report, or again, they would schedule it as part of a scheduled process. And in order to see how you would configure that, these are all the different parameters that could be used as part of generating the aged vendor listing. But instead what you do is you go in and you hard code the values that you want to use for things like your aging periods, the currency, and whether it's in detail or summary. And this avoids you having to visit all those parameters every time you run the report. So we believe this is a very effective way for you to automate and streamline the reporting requirements, both for Crystal and for financial statement reports within Sage 300. So now I'll throw it back to Nancy to conclude our presentation today.
Thanks very much, Rob. So I hope we've given you some ideas on how you can start to increase your efficiency to help your business to grow and thrive. So with that, if you have any questions, you can put those into the chat window and a BAASS representative will get back to you with some answers. And further to that, these presentations will be available on the BAASS Connect website. So thank you very much for your time today. We really appreciate it, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.